But I do want to thank the ladies at City Hall, Leah and Stacy, for the name tags. I want to thank all the candidates for coming. And I do want to thank the Royalton cooks and custodians. This was all set up when I got here. And I'm always so nervous about this. I was here, what time was I here, Ray? 5 o'clock. This is sponsored by Lions Club, and Ray's the only lion that volunteered to come help, and everything was done by the time he got here. So this was all set up. I'm assuming this is the way they leave it for breakfast tomorrow, so we don't have to do anything with the setting on and get rid of this stuff, I would guess. But coffee and cookies provided by the 3 sponsors. And I want to thank Little Falls Radio and Morrison County Record for allowing me to speak to or send information to them. We couldn't have this without them. So I want to introduce the candidates, and then we will start out over the rules. And we will take questions from the audience. And there's a microphone on that very first table there. So if you want to have a question, say a question, get the microphone, I'll call on you. I will ask you who you're having the question addressed to. I don't know if one question would go for all the candidates. You can come up with one that does, that's fine, but we have a House candidate and 2 Senate candidates that you could direct your questions to there. So at the head table is to my, gotta make sure I say this properly, to my far right, Nathan Wiesenberg, Brandy Hackett, Jeremy Pakula, Lucas Boyd, Suzanne Sakala. I gotta look at your name tag. He's one that, Matt Nelson, pardon me, Matt, Randy Wincher, Isaac Schultz, and Maria Trout. And these are the rules for this evening. And we do have an order. We drew cards to make sure which order we're going to go. And each candidate will have 1.5 minutes for opening remarks, 2 minutes for closing remarks. And we do time it. Also, this is probably going to go into the Royalton Museum someday, because I've been banging with it for 40 years. So it's taped many times. So I will let you know when you're within 15 seconds of your time limit. And same thing, questions. And answers for the questions will be 90 seconds, 1.5 minutes. And meet the candidates. There's no way endorsement of any candidate or any party from myself as a moderator and from the sponsoring organizations. So, we are going to start with opening remarks, and this will be the order of the opening remarks. And after I get done telling the order, Isaac Schultz will be first, candidate for House of Representative. And so he will be first. Next will be the 4 school board candidates for Royalton. Trout, Hackett, Nelson, and Boyd, in that order, opening remarks. Then the state Senate candidates, opening remarks, Wiesenberg, Sakala, and then we'll finish with the county commissioners in this order, Wincher and Pakula. So, let's get on with it. Let's get the open remarks for the candidates. Isaac Schultz, you can come up here or you can do it there.
I think I'll just stay here.
Very good.
That's all right.
And I will start the clock when you start talking.
Good evening, everyone, and Doug, and everyone, all the sponsors who allowed us to have this platform this evening. Thank you. It's great to see so many of you here this evening. It is such a joy to be in community with one another, and I feel like that's the heart of the reason why I'm running for office. I love this community. I love Minnesota, and I'm so passionate about our small town, rural way of life. I'm running for House District 10B, which spans the southern half of Morrison County from Upsala and Swanville, and then includes the rural portion of Benton County, central Mille Lacs County, and the western half of Kanabec County, and one precinct, Dalwell Township in Isanti County. So great to be with you all here this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an opportunity in Minnesota, an opportunity to make Minnesota a more affordable place to live. And that's a big reason why I'm running. Minnesota, we're near taxed to death, and government isn't responsive to the citizens, and really has been out of control under the rule of Tim Walz, and it's time for us to change that. And so each and every one of you who are seated out in the seats tonight have a sphere of influence. And you're all here tonight, which means you're all probably planning to vote. But there are people in your orbit who aren't planning to vote at this point in time. And I want to deputize each and every one of you to get out there, talk to your friends and neighbors, and ask them to go and vote on November 8th. So we need to do that because the difference is that our voice can be a much more outstated voice when we all show up and vote. Thanks for being here this evening.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Maria Trout. I'm going to preface this with saying it's my very first time doing anything of this sort, and I am not a polished politician. So forgive me if I don't know everything that I should be saying or the most polished way to present myself. But I live in Royalton, and I have lived in this community for about going on 5 years. I have 4 children, and 3 of my children in some way, shape, or form attend Royalton School. I have my two younger children attend public school full-time here, and my older child attends partially, and I partially homeschool him. So I come with the lens of being a parent that's invested in their children's education, and also I wear a dual hat of education because I homeschool my son, and so I look through that lens and can try to see things from the point of view of a teacher's, just a teacher's point of view or whatever, because so I just think that that's one of the assets that I bring to the table tonight as a candidate for the school board, is that I wear this dual hat where I can see from both lenses the importance of education. I'm passionate about children, I'm passionate about education, and I am here to advocate for parents to become more involved in their children's educational journey, because that's where my heart is. So that's me in a nutshell. So thank you.
Maria, next is Randy Hackett.
Chuck? All right. Well, my name is Randy Hackett. I'm a current board member. I've served 2 terms. I farm just east of town here. My family, got 2 kids in school. My leadership is to ask and then to do. Everybody comes and they want to go on the school board, and they always have an agenda. And when you go on the school board, if you have an agenda, you close your eyes to a lot of things that you should see. When all that information gets provided to you, your agenda changes, and that's what happened to me. And I like to be on the school board because I think I provide a voice for a lot of kids that don't have a voice. That's what I do. Thank you.
Next is Matt Nelson, candidate for school board.
Hello, my name is Matt Nelson. I'm here for school board. I'm interested mainly because I have a vested interest. My 4 kids will and are currently going to school here. I'm going to be involved with the school for the next 15 years anyway, so why not? I am an active volunteer for the Bullis Fire Department. I feel like I have a certain amount of debt in my life from school or from other facilities that have helped when my parents fell a little short, and I want to repay that. So I'm not exactly sure what all would be within the school board, but I'd really like to find out, and I'd really like to try and bridge the gap between the faculty and the people. And I was kind of thinking about how there's only 4 of us that ran, and it's kind of a sign that, you know, not as many people volunteer for things anymore. And that's why I'm here, is to try and inspire other people to volunteer, to get more involved. So if you have an opportunity, do it. And that's about it for me.
Thank you, Matt. My candidate for Royalton School Board is Lucas Boyd.
Well, good evening. My name is Lucas Boyd. I live between Royalton and Bolus with my wife Teresa, who's in front earlier. I feel that I've got a lot of skin in the game. We have 6 children, 5 of which who are in the district. I've got Ben who's in 11th grade, Blake 8th grade, Braxton 6th grade. And they're all in the high school, middle school area here. I've got Brantley who's in 3rd grade and Braille who's in 1st grade. They're in elementary, which is right down the road. I also have Beckett, who's a 9-month-old baby, who will be in school shortly. And I want to run for Royalton School Board because I do like what Royalton does for the most part, and I want to keep it that way. Okay, and I want to keep Royalton on the path where they're going. I understand it's a huge deal for the community. The community needs the school board here. I also feel that I can be a liaison between the community and administration. Okay, I want you guys to know that I'll be open to anybody that wants to talk to me. If you want my phone number, if you want my address, you can go on the Secretary of State website and get that information. It's on there. Otherwise, see me afterward and I'll give it to you, and I'm not afraid to talk to any one of you. If you'd like me to come to your house, if you've got concerns, let me know. Any ideas, please be forward with those. Like I said, I want to be a liaison between the community and administration. So if that's what you're looking for, I think I'm your guy. Thank you.
Thank you to those candidates for Royalton School Board. And Superintendent Kirkham, how many seats are up? Is there 3? So three will be elected 3 weeks from tomorrow, I believe it is. Our next speakers will be the candidates for State Senate, Nathan Wiesenberg.
You hear me? Yeah. All right, there we go. My name is Nathan Wiesenberg. If nobody has met me, that's who I am. I was born and raised in Little Falls, and I still live in Little Falls with my wife and my 3 kids. And you know, I feel like our government hasn't been representing us great for a while, and that's one thing that pushed me to get involved. You know, seeing things that have been going on in our education system. There's things that aren't great, and we need that to be fixed. Our taxes are not good. Our state's been crazy the last couple of years. I think everybody knows that. If you don't, I guess you don't. But things haven't been great. So I'm ready to represent people. You know, I started a group last year in town. Jeremy is part of that, and there's other people in this room too. And it was to bring our community together and see if we can work on things that aren't working. So it's non-partisan. It's just get together in a community and start to talk to people and listen. Actually, my very first meeting, I said, what are you guys concerned about? That's what I want to hear. I want you to come to me and tell me what your concerns are so I can speak for you. So if you have something, you need to come to me so I can help you work on it. If you don't talk to me, I can't fix your problem, and then you can't come and say, well, why did you do this? You need to let me know, and I'm more than willing to talk to anybody and help people. I do have morals and I do have values that I'm not going to compromise on, but we do need to work together and we can get there. So thank you.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming tonight. It is a wonderful opportunity for people to hear what we all stand for and what we believe. I grew up on a family farm here in Morrison County and actually graduated from Royalton, and my children went to school here. I live in the county all my life. I work, live, and celebrate rural life. I love in Minnesota and can't imagine living anywhere else. And those farm and family values established when I was young truly are the foundation of my life. I serve this community in Morrison County as a nurse, youth employment director with Tri-County Community Action Program, a small business owner. I'm a United Church of Christ pastor, and I was the chaplain of the St. Cloud Hospital. I have had the richest life in serving the people of central Minnesota. I graduated from United Theological Seminary of the Twin Cities, earning a master's degree, and I am an ordained United Church of Christ minister. I am blessed with 3 grown children and 6 grandchildren, and I continue to operate a home business working with spiritual coaching and personal development. My background isn't politics either, and I think I look around and see our communities are struggling, and I hope to help with that. I know we need infrastructure, we have to work with our high inflation, and we lack some of the opportunities. Thank you.
Okay, next will be the county commissioner candidates, Randy Winchell.
Okay. Good evening. Again, I want to thank everybody for showing up for this evening. And like Isaac said, I'm sure most of you are here to vote in the next few weeks. I'm your current Morrison County Commissioner. This is in my 10th year. We had a redistricting here a couple of years ago. I ran 2 years ago, won that candidacy for County Commissioner, but now due to the statutes and that sort, we are required to run again because of the population. It's just one of those things. And it helps me as far as too to get out and talk to people. But what I like mostly is I recognize a lot of faces here. You all know that I was, and I should say all of you, but I'm born and raised in Buckland Township on a farm. Graduated right here from Royalton High School. It's changed over a few years. It's gotten a little bigger. We got class sizes, so I'm sure they got my picture somewhere stuffed away in the archives here somewhere. But I also had my 3 children. They graduated from here, from Royalton High School. This community, it means a lot to me as a household that lives in this county. I really enjoy getting out, talking to people. 15 seconds. Anyway, enough is enough. Common sense, that's what kind of guy I am, so thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for coming. My name is Jeremy Pakula, and I'm running for County Commissioner here in District 3. I was born and raised on a dairy and hog farm in Swan River Township, and I'm a lifelong resident of Morrison County. Because I want to ensure a bright future for my 2 sons, in which the constitutional freedoms still prevail across our great nation, I am stepping forward to be the change that we need to see locally in Morrison County to ensure that happens. Our country was founded as a constitutional republic to be governed by the people, for the people. The sole purpose of our government is to protect the lives, liberties, and unalienable rights of all Americans that are given to us by our Creator and protected by the U.S. Constitution. The leaders we elect are public servants and are meant to act as the voice of the people they represent. Our elections process and our constitutional right to vote is supposed to be the ultimate equalizer to keep our government from expanding and overstepping its constitutional boundaries. And when we don't have truly fair and honest elections, we no longer have true representation or consent of we the people. In order for us to start holding our state and federal governments accountable and in check to protect our liberties and freedoms as Americans, our first step must be to take back control of our elections at the county level, and that is why I'm running for Morrison County Commissioner. Thank you.
Okay, 90 seconds goes pretty fast. But I'll keep pounding on that till it goes to the museum, so. We've gotta have the rules, we've done it for 40 years this way, and I appreciate the candidates, sticking as best they can to the time limits. Does anybody have a question from the audience? If so, come, raise your hand and I'll call on you to get the, nobody's gonna, okay, Mary Kruger, you wanna come get the microphone, please? And who are you directing your questions to, Mary?
I think they can all answer this.
Oh, go ahead.
It's mostly directed to the school board. I asked this question a few years ago and I got the only meaningful answer from the city council person that I couldn't vote for, so.
Okay, let me get my ducks in a row here, since we've got a lot of people. I'm not ready for everybody to answer your question, but you answer, I'll figure out an order, and we'll get on with it. Go ahead, Mary.
I'd like to know what your understanding is of why we have sports in school. Why do we spend the resources and the time on sports? In other words, what do we as a society benefit? What do the kids learn? What's the purpose?
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Mary. I'm just gonna go right down the order, if that's okay. And you have 2 minutes to answer, and again, at 1:45, I'll let you know, I'll give you 15 minutes. So, does everybody understand the question before we get going here?
Yes.
Okay, Nathan Wiesenberg, first response.
Well, I think it's good for kids to exercise for one, and it builds teamwork and camaraderie, and, you know, it helps you learn how to work together, and that's important for growing up and being in real life. You have to learn how to work together and be a team. I think it's simple.
So the question is probably more suited for school board. The Minnesota High School League is our governing body that we choose to be in this school. They have a bunch of material on the web that you could look up. They put out why we play video out every year. We present it at a school board meeting. In there, they give people with examples of why they play. There's leadership. There's troubled kids that get into sports and keeps them out of trouble. There's all kinds of things, you know, that having kids involved in something, and it's not just sports. Sports is one facet of it. You know, the art club or FFA or any of them things could be in the same spectrum. And so one kid might be really good at doing one thing and not at sport. But I personally can tell you the benefits of sport. I have a daughter that doesn't want to be in sports, and a member of the staff has got her to be a manager on a basketball team, and that just having her involved in something is great, and the involvement is to be part of something. That's what we're teaching our kids. Thank you.
Before the next response, I'm going to ask you to state your name and what you're running for, so everybody knows. Normally I introduce the candidates, but so from now on, when we have this many responding, let's do that. State your name and what you're running for. So, who's next? Jeremy?
Okay, Jeremy Pakula, Morrison County Commissioner. I'll try to keep it brief. To me, sports, as they have also stated, the teamwork, the camaraderie, the hard work and the determination are big keys in developing youngsters. To me, the other big part of that is losing and figuring out how to rebound once you've lost, or you didn't win the competition if it's an art, academic or after school activity in that regard. To me, it does build life character, so that when they leave high school, they've experienced the ups and the downs, and the camaraderie and how to work together with one another. So I believe it was a great benefit for
Lucas Boyd, school board. Great question, by the way, and I like these guys' answers down here. I agree with that it creates a well-rounded person. I think Jeremy stated that really well. But I did like your second part of the question is what does it do for the community? Because I'm huge in the community. Not only do sports help the kids, but I love bringing community together. Okay, so that brings people into the school. We can be together as a community, right? We can meet new people. We can make friends. Not just the kids making friends with other kids, but we can make friends with other adults, right? It's all community, bringing people together. No different than Bolus Day, okay? I'm a huge fan of Bolus Day. I don't know if anybody's ever been there before, but a lot of people say, why do we do Bolus Day? We can make that money somewhere else. No, it's not about the money, okay? That's part of it. The other part is community, bringing people together. So yes, it makes a well-rounded child, but it also brings community together. And I think without community, what do you have? Thank you.
Suzanne Sakala, running for the Senate. That is a really great question, and I think if you're focusing on just sports, we can enter that part with character and building of community and teamwork, and that's a really big thing. It's important to have our children interested in something other than just the academics, so extracurricular activities. I think all of the things that we do that help the child to discover who they are and what their interests are really beneficial for them. As a youth minister and a pastor, I spent a lot of time in youth ministry things, and all of those things were important, whether it was bowling or whatever else we were doing. So it is important because it does build character, it does build teamwork and camaraderie, and it finds the opportunity for children to find who they are and how they fit in with everything else. So I really support all of that because I think it helps each and every one of us. No different than we look for groups and things that support us and who we are. And that helps to inform us every day of our lives. Thank you.
Matt Nelson, school board. I really like what Lucas said. It's about community. And there are so many facets to bringing, or that the sports bring to the community. When I went to the homecoming game, I saw hundreds and hundreds of people, and all of them intermingling with each other. But the players on the field are learning how to be part of a team, and they are learning how to win, how to lose, how to pass the ball instead of just hogging it yourself, all the other things. But there are other people that you maybe don't notice, like the audio video production people who are recording the games, the announcers, the kids who are working the stands, who get to understand the financial end of running a till or the business structure of that. So I see it as being more than just sports. It's the community, a reflection of the community and our economy, or what have you. There's also the idea that, school is just a place that we just do the bare necessities, and I've run across this before, and I understand it. The idea that, reading, writing, arithmetic, and then everything else is above and beyond, like the arts program or the football or whatever, but again, it's community. It is, it's tradition. We've done it for so long that we don't want to be one of the schools that just stops those traditions and just become, a locked schoolhouse where we just learn the basics. We want to hold on to our past, our history. Mm-hmm. And I think that's about all the time. I can talk all day about this.
It's for the grandparents, sports is for you. Anyway, no, all seriousness, we just had a young gentleman here from Royalton that was in a very tragic car accident, and I'm sure most of us all know that. And it builds family strength, sports, because again, when we're and I participated in high school sports, like all my kids did, and it does, it's so important for the community, and the hundreds of people that attended this, place for, Mr. Landers, again, it just brings everybody together, and I say, I think with sports, most of us all have like children or grandchildren in there, and it's nothing really gets to me as far as, if I see my grandkids out there, now I used to see my children out there, you holler out their name, and I gotta be careful nowadays, but like I say, they just turn around and they see that family, we support them, you know, and I think that's really a big thing for sports in this area. So again, it's family support, family getting together in the community. Thank you.
This is a pretty easy question, and I think we all agree on this stage. Sports has played a critical role in my life in order for me to even be on the stage right now. The opportunity to compete, to sharpen your skills and be better. That's the arena that's created through sports. And so our students have been able to, and student athletes have been able to do that. And I would say, in addition to what has been said so far, you're also, when you're a student athlete, you have to balance more of your time. You're learning more life skills faster. And that's why sports is so important. In our schools, I certainly support them, in addition to every other extracurricular activity that our schools are able to provide. We know that, in times like today, budgets are tight, and we sometimes don't have the advisors or teachers to provide the opportunities for our students to achieve what they want, or all that they want. And but sports and other extracurricular activities provide that lens for students to continue to grow, to become leaders, in addition to providing the place where we do community best in House District 10B, in my opinion, because I certainly know that some of the greatest memories of my life were in this school and on that football field out there, and just to what Commissioner Witcher said, playing against my good friends, the Lanners.
I don't disagree with what has been said around the table. I just have a little bit of a different perspective. I appreciate all the experiences that children can have through extracurricular activities, and what everybody else has mentioned. I do think that sports in particular could have changed pace over the course of the last few years, and a healthy balance could be put into perspective here. I'd love to see, the hundreds of people that attend a football game. I'd love to see those people at the art show. I'd love to see hundreds of people attending the speech meets. And I would love to see that across the board, that healthy balance that supports the children in any extracurricular activity they decide to pursue. I think that's, in particular, when we're talking about sports, there might be some adults that have complicated things to the degree that this has become more about competition for children than it is about exercise and learning about teamwork and developing life skills. And I'd like to see it simplified a little and not lost in any way, but I'd like to see some simplistic, values, I guess, so that children aren't pushed to the limits. I've had a child that was an athletic star for a different school district, and the pressure that they had to carry to be the winning team, to go undefeated. I thought that was a very kind of unhealthy stress load that a teenage developing brain needed to carry to impress the adults that were pushing children to that place. So that's just my personal opinion, looking through the lenses of a parent about a healthy balance that could be implemented for sports in particular.
Okay, thank you to those responses. I want to remind you, if we get a long question like that again, make sure you tell them who you are and what you're running for, because normally I'll introduce the candidates. Any other questions? That one back there, his hand up first. Greg, who
District 10.
No, we normally don't just do it for one.
We can do it for two.
Well,
The two Senate candidates.
okay, that's fine.
We can do that easily.
Okay, let's hear the question, and then I will give you the order of response.
Okay, all right. Well, first of all, appreciation. I used to run the microphone before. First of all, appreciation for all of you, real briefly, and also I appreciated the expansion of that question. I guess Suzanne or a couple of people expanded that to more than sports. This is kind of a holistic question that I want to ask, and that is, a couple of you introduced the idea that we are more than just body, but we are also spirit, mind, body, and spirit. And so I'm wondering, I know Suzanne better, I don't know you as well yet, but I hope to do so in the future. And how do you balance, I've never seen you, Suzanne, put down anybody because they happen to be of a different background. So my question is, how do you balance the spirit? Are there some guidelines in scripture or whatever your faith background is?
Thank you. Isaac, would you like to respond to that question? Well, it is to the Senate, but you have an option to respond if you like to. Okay, fine. So the order of response is Suzanne Scala and Nathan Wiesen.
Interesting question. That is always a balancing act. As a pastor and as an individual who works with people all the time, it is the thing that holds you together, that grounds you and supports you. So my Christian faith, my experience as a pastor and as a chaplain, I've had the opportunity of being with people in the most difficult and darkest times of their lives, and the most joyful and the most wonderful. For me and myself, I really need to make sure that I am grounded in my faith. I study and I pray and I spend that time working so that I can be a better person to everyone in the world and everybody that I meet. So that balance, I think, is so important for everybody. And we don't often hear that question, how do we keep ourselves balanced so we don't just get off to one direction or another, but that we stay more in the middle and who and what informs us for how we report ourselves. Thank you.
Nathan?
Yep. Do I need to say Nathan Wiesenberg for Senate Number 10? No.
I know.
Okay.
No,
Great, I figured they get it, so I was I was baptized Lutheran, but really raised in a Catholic family. So I was going to church a lot, like with my grandma Bernie, multiple times a week, and so I feel like I'm a Catholic, but not baptized as a Catholic. So, I think we need to be good to all people and look for good in people and be nice. And I think that's that's the message, is we need to be good to everybody and we need to be kind to everybody. I do morals, like I said when I started before. If there's things that I think are objectionable and wrong based on that, then I'm going to stand up for my beliefs. But I believe God and Jesus, and we need to be good people and listen and be kind. Yeah, I don't know. Did I answer more? Okay, all right.
Okay, I want to remind people there's cookies and coffee. This is the biggest crowd we've ever had of these, so I want to thank you all for coming. I think that person was before you, so would you grab the mic? Who would you like to direct your question to?
This is for the senators again?
Just the senators?
Just the senators,
Okay,
yep.
very good.
So, Ms. Calla, I've noticed that you said that. I've heard you say that you're a minister and everything, and I've seen your ads in paper and some of the articles, and I noticed that you're pro-choice or pro-abortion. So my question is regarding your spirituality and your belief as a minister, how can you be pro-choice and pro-abortion when that's literally killing a baby and an innocent life?
First response is Nathan Wiesenberg, and then Suzanne Sakala. Nathan?
Yeah, so I am against abortion. I think it's wrong. And actually, are there any kids here? Because I have a picture of what is legal in Minnesota right here. And Susan even said in the Brainerd Dispatch that we should take more care of the people we have rather than just fetal cells. So this is fetal cells. Actually, Tim Walz, our governor, and if he gets elected again, he has voted against saving babies that are born alive. So you can have a baby up to 40 weeks. You can have an abortion in Minnesota up to 40 weeks. If that baby is born alive, Tim Walz has voted to kill that baby. That's murder. That's not abortion. That's not true. That's murder. It is true, Stephen. HR, please, can I answer the question? And I have the proof, and I handed out things here, and there are QR codes. You can pull it up, and Tim Walz voted for that. So it is true. I'm not lying. I'm not going to give you false information. So can I have more time here?
The murder of 40 pregnancy. That's absurd.
Should I read what Tim Walz said straight from his mouth? Can I do that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
From his mouth.
Who is this?
Terminating pregnancies at 40.
Here it is. So.
Steve, you might want to put that in a question yourself later. Let him respond and Suzanne. Go ahead.
Tim, well, it's a 3-minute thing. He wants to hear it, so I'm going to give it to him, if that's okay. So it's on the paper right there. You could see it. So Tim Walz, Nancy Pelosi actually asked me if I should tone it down on abortion. Tim Walz accidentally voted for HR 4712, and he accidentally voted for it. He says, I accidentally voted for that. It was an honest mistake. I meant to vote no, as I did with my identical bills. My apologies for the confusion. I'll keep fighting for women's access to health care. That's not health care. Murdering babies isn't health care. I'm sorry. It's wrong. And it's just wrong. So we can't do that. And if Susan gets elected, that's how the Democrat Party works. They follow in step with Tim Walz, and they will vote for that. Because she gets money from the Democratic Party, and she will have to vote for abortion. If it's a tie, if it's 33-33 on the Senate floor, or whatever the number is she gonna vote with, the side of pro-life? No, she's gonna vote for abortion and that, because that's what Tim Walz wants, and it's wrong, it's murder, it's disgusting, it's sick.
Correction. Tim Walz says, maintain the timelines outlined by current law in Minnesota law, which is Stephen, I'm telling you what has been said.
Okay, we may want to phrase that as a question, Your Honor. Thank you. I'm also going to respond that nobody gets a second question until everybody has opportunity for the first question. So, Suzanne Sakala's response to that. Go ahead.
Okay, first, I'd like to say that when any of you are interviewed by a newspaper person, does it come out exactly like you said it, and do they let you proofread it?
Yes.
No. So, I am pro-choice. I am pro-life from cradle to grave. I believe there's a lot we can do to help with a lot of situations. Every person that has to have or wants to have an abortion, my heart breaks. I cannot imagine what they have to go through in order to make that decision. But do we take that right away from them? The other thing that I was misspoken with was that I said that my #1 priority was reproductive rights. What I said was that when I've been throughout SD10, when I asked people, what is your main concern? Their main concern was reproductive rights. These were teachers. These were healthcare professionals. These were retired people. 50 years of this law, and now we're not going to do it. I understand it is an hottest and the most difficult thing. But politics should not be involved in a woman's choice and their health.
Where in the Bill
15
of,
seconds
where in the
is
Bill
so
of
hard.
Rights is abortion a right?
I would like to say that it does inform me for who the individual is. If we want to fight for gun rights in the Second Amendment, how do we then tell women that they have to do a certain thing if they're pregnant? How do we do that?
Gun's not a living creature. Really, to compare that to a gun.
Okay, I'm gonna have to ask that no comments to the candidates. You can do that afterwards. You can ask a question, but I don't want this evening to get out of hand. And so thank you for that. Thank you for consideration. The next person was Mr. Spurl there, Gary. Who's your question for?
I'm sorry, it's gonna be for the same two candidates and Mr. Schultz.
Okay. The mic's up, yep.
Hi, my name is Gary Spurl. I've lived in Little Falls since 1980. I've been a pharmacist since that time in the community. I'm mostly retired now. I have served and loved people on both sides of the political spectrum, I think. And so what I'd like this is going to be really quick. If I can ask you a question, who do you support for Attorney General?
Jim Schultz.
Who do you support for Attorney General? Now listen, who do you support for Attorney General? Okay, so that's where I want to go with this. I'm a pharmacist for the last 25 years. I've worked diligently on methamphetamine abuse for the last probably 10 years. I've been on the task force that's not because of me, but because of the two doctors that's received national attention for our work.
Gary, can you get on with your question, please?
Okay.
You're making a comment now, let's get on. Are you done with your question?
I'm done with my question, but do I still have some time?
You really don't have any time once you're done with your question.
So my question is, how can you vote? What's that? Yeah. The question is,
Well, no, they're not gonna answer. You already got your one question. Everybody else gets a chance for their first question before you can have your second. So, I'm sorry, but with the mic down, you're done. You're done. You can come back later if other people have a question and they will use theirs. So, thank you, very good, thank you. Okay, thank you. This gentleman over here was next. Who are you directing your question to?
Just the senators.
Just the senators?
Just the senators, yeah.
Okay.
My question is based off Mr. Wiesenberg. In your opening statements, you said that you saw a lot of flaws with education. So what I would like to know specifically is what flaws are you seeing and what are you going to do to improve those? And then extending that question to the other candidates as well.
Okay, did you both understand the question? Both of you did. Okay. The order of response will be Sakala and Wiesenberg. So, Suzanne?
I think there is always room for improvement with education. I think we have to fully fund education. I think of my niece that started teaching special ed in the Little Falls School District, and she took collections every year so that she could buy things for her classroom, and then got reprimanded because we all donated so that she could have things for her classroom. I think there's so much room for improvement, and we have to look at that. How do we fully fund the schools so that teachers are being paid what they need to be paid and children are receiving what they need to receive? And I think that when we look through what we've gone through in the last 2 years, it's really important for us to support our teachers, to make sure that they have all the support that they need in the things that they're doing in our school districts. Thank you.
I'd like to start off by saying that my mom is a teacher. She's been a teacher for 45 years, substitute teacher. Sorry. My mother-in-law is a teacher. I support teachers. I believe that my job as a parent is to be a parent, and teachers' job is to educate. Now, what am I gonna do to help with things? I've been talking to the superintendent last year at Little Falls High School. I've reached out to other superintendents and principals in other districts, school districts, if there are concerns with parents, I talk to them. I've already had multiple meetings with our new superintendent in Little Falls. I've already told parents if they have issues, reach out to me, and I will talk with them. You know, we can't have things that, you know, so another quote that Sue had, and this wasn't actually to a newspaper, it was the League of Women's Voters is what it was written from, is I believe public schools are indoctrinating their kids. Now everyone knows what was going on in Sartell. And then there's surveys that they ask, like, this is what I put on the back of that paper, what is the gender identity? Agender, boy, man, gender fluid, girl, woman, non-binary, two-spirit. Why are we asking these kids? Their kids are boys and girls, okay? That's it. Boys and girls, we can't be confusing kids. Our job is to educate them. So these things aren't appropriate for children. We need to stop doing this for kids. It's just wrong. And people either understand that or they don't. The COVID stuff that happened over the last couple of years was wrong. We tried saying that at the beginning, now it's all falling apart. I'm a biologist, I understand this. My wife's a doctor, she understands that. Talking to people who produce masks and say, well, they don't work. So what I've been doing is talking to parents, I've been talking to people, I've been talking to the superintendent. We need to work together. There are things going on in schools that are not appropriate. That's that.
And they're not done.
We'll get to, I see 3 more questions before anybody gets to the second. Who are you directing your question?
To the senator.
Just the senators again? Or
My name's Judith Hecht, I'm a retired teacher. Here's my question. What resources do you study, use, and trust that help you to keep current on issues that concern Minnesota citizens? So what are your resources that you're using?
Thank you. Isaac, would you like to respond to that as well?
He's an Upsala Cardinal. We treat the Upsala Cardinals pretty well here in Royalton. Okay, Nathan responded second last time, so he will respond first to this one. Go ahead, Nathan.
So what resources as far as education? Well, I have kids in school, so. What resources do I have to keep current on what's happening in Minnesota? So my kids don't count. Like what I pay attention to happening with my children is a resource, correct? Okay, well, I'll read, this comes out of the Minnesota Teacher Education Handbook. Interrupting whiteness. White supremacy is not just the extreme expression of racism, it's a consistent, systematic separation of people who are a different socially constructed racial group, and it harms everybody. I go on and on and on. In 2001, when I went to college, I had a class called Minority Studies. In the first day of class, the teacher said, all white people are racist and Americans hate other races. That's not true. That's not how I was raised. I was born and raised in Little Falls, Minnesota. I was taught to be good to everybody and be nice to people, and that's how I was. I don't think anybody's different. That's the message. We need to teach people that we are equal, we are the same, and not indoctrinate our kids with this baloney, and that's wrong. So getting back to my class that I had, in a week and a half of hearing this, 2 black female students turned my teacher in for being racist. So what does that tell you about what's being taught? This is wrong. Let's teach each other that we're equal, and let's treat each other equally, and not this baloney. We're all equal, and that's it. Let's not put this garbage into our kids' heads.
Woo!
Thank you for that question. I spend quite a bit of time, because I never was a politician before, and I don't really call myself that. So I need to gather as much information as I possibly can. So I have a team that actually helps to do research with me, and I read a number of different documents that come through so that I know some of the things that are happening, like the new things that are coming to help support us for the surplus, and the new things that can be coming for us for helping with inflation and to understand and study that. Those are huge bills and huge things that were passed. It takes a lot of work to understand how that's going to happen. The IRA, as it's called, is being paid for by taxing the large corporations and other high companies like that. And I think that's important to know how that's being funded, because people are really concerned about how are we going to have all these tax cuts, how are we going to do this? But when we hear that the corporations will finally be taxed, it maybe makes a difference. So I have to spend a lot of time reading and going through all the materials. 90 seconds goes really fast. So and I also like to watch some of the public TV news information, because that gives a broad spectrum on all parties and all denominations. I do not look at myself as just because the Democrats support something, I'm going to vote for it. And I'm sorry that that's what my opponent thinks, but I have said from the very beginning, I will vote people, not party.
Directing your question to?
The Senate again.
Pardon me?
The Senate candidates.
Okay,
Yep.
very good.
I am Dr. Jenny Wiesberg. I actually had the pleasure of working with Suzanne when I was in residency in St. Cloud Hospital. So we did spend some time working together. I'm sure crossing paths. This is kind of an offshoot of what Gary was talking about. So as a physician, I do see a lot of opioid problems in the area. A lot of struggles with drug use and abuse. And the big one right now is fentanyl. And for those of you that don't know, fentanyl is a very, very potent opioid. A very potent, so a very small amount, like a grain of sand can kill you. So my question to the candidates are, how can you support the Attorney General that you have have answered that you're supporting, and the party that you are aligning with regards to the opioid problem? Specifically, currently, our Democratic Party has done nothing to address the opioid problem and has not had anything to address the deaths that have happened. So, thank you.
Very good, thank you. Both candidates understand the question. Nathan, Suzanne, and you are first to respond.
That is such a difficult question, because there's so many different facets to it. And I am not familiar with the party and what is going on with the fentanyl issues with the Democratic Party. What I do believe is that we need to make some serious changes with the fentanyl. We need to see how we can start combating our drug issue in Morrison County. We know that that's an issue. We know that it's a terrible issue for the Mille Lacs area and throughout SD10. How do we manage that? We have been trying for a long time. There are some programs that work really good and some programs that don't. So I don't know, but if I'm elected senator, that will be one of the first things on my list to take a look at. Because we have to do something that's going to change that. We have too many people who do die.
So here goes next, so I guess it doesn't make a difference, right?
And they don't even realize that such a tiny amount can kill them. So I don't know if it's education, I don't know how we do it, I don't know if it's politics, if we legislate it, I don't know how to do that. But I think Gary obviously has a really good point and understands how to do that. So I would seek out help for understanding that issue that I don't and am not fully informed on.
Jim Schultz wants to make fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction. So if you are caught distributing it, you would be a terrorist. So let's start by, we have to secure borders, because that's where it's coming from. It's coming across the southern border. And that's coming into our country that way, so we need to close that. And to remind people, before Trump was in office, the Democrats wanted to close the southern border. And then when it became a thing for that, they said, we can't do that anymore. I'm not opposed to people coming to America from wherever you want to come from. Come here, work, pay taxes, because we work, we pay taxes, and then we get taxed more to tax people or to pay for people that are from here. So you come from wherever you want, I don't care. You come to America, get a job, pay taxes. But that's where it's coming from, it's gotta stop. So we have to work with those there so in order to get it stopped. It's not just that drug, there's drugs coming across the border and other things coming across the border. That's what we need to do. And yes, we obviously need to help people who have drug problems and things, but stopping them from coming here will really be a big thing, stopping from coming here and so many people dying. Kids dying.
This will be the next question, but I want to just take a second to let everybody stand up and take a break. There are restrooms through that door to the left.